Alright, so this is going to be a follow-up, because apparently for the previous video it was just a gameplay video. It was nothing more, just gameplay, just showing that it can be done, and for some reason it is having a 66% like ratio. 66%. Oh, hi there. I see you. I didn't even notice you before I recorded. Anyways, so I'm going to make this video, and while I could be complete min-max, I could tell you the best that I've figured to do this event solo, and granted, I'm going to tell you right now, you will net less score doing this. Like, it is not feasibly possible if you're going through Orphix to Orphix, not doing any sketchy things, because I know there is a few methods of farming points that is quite reasonable. In fact, if you look at the leaderboards in the next 4 or 3 days before it resets, a solo person managed to get about 200,000+ on the operation. This is going to be a sort of a challenge, because I'm going to show you how to do this even if you're not equipped. So this is my build that I will use when I do this myself, when I join other people publicly, or when it becomes a pre-made team and whatnot. I'm going to go to this build, and I'm going to equip as minimal as possible. I'm going to add strength, flow, streamline, duration. And technically you should be able to fit all of that without form on the mech. And I'm also going to add armor. It is just going to be this. I'm going to lose out on the shield, I'm going to lose out on the health. I'm also going to lose out on the range, which only assists in the first ability, but I'm not even going to try to use that. It is just going to be this. This and this alone. Okay? That is all. And then, I am also not even bringing a good primary gun when it comes to my Hildryn, because I'm assuming certain people are doing this event so that they can get their hands on Arcanes. I'm not going to bring any of the Arcanes. I'm going to wipe the Arcanes, and I'm going to wipe the Necramech so that you guys who have played for a while prior to this event but don't have Arcanes because you're not hunting, and don't even have, like, you know, a Necramech even formed once, could do this. Alright? I'm bringing this pet. This is from the Cambion Drift, aka the Necrolisk. You get it from the sun. And I'm bringing these guns, but mainly these are just so I can get the sequence effect. There are many other guns that you can get the sequence effect. I'm just bringing these two. You're not even supposed to kill with them. And for my Tenno Kid, which this shouldn't be a spoiler if you're searching up this event, I'm going to be using Materai, that is fully upgraded. And the Arcanes on the operator are Cloud and Lockdown. Okay? So I'm going to be bringing Cloud and Lockdown. Granted, the only important one is Cloud. Lockdown is just for utility. Okay? Now, this is a heavily nerfed, heavily brought back build. But even with this, and I'm going to go in solo, I'm going to prove and tell a lot of tips that you can do this yourself. Now, one quick tip, you see the picture of the tile here? You see how it shows a gas city? Don't care about the symbol on the bottom right. It is not 100% accurate. That picture is accurate. And I hope many other people hate the Grenier tile set. I do. That's the gas city tile set. That is honestly the best tile set. We're going to go in with a heavily nerfed build that I showed off in the and by the way, the previous video, the builds of that video were at the very end. I didn't show everything, but it is because technically there's wiggle room. There's so many things you can do differently and still, you know, reach the end, especially with a group of randoms. So here I am. No Arcanes on the Hildryn.
Everyone gives them more control. Make them think twice. Don't be afraid to bail when you have to.
And the only thing I'm using is basically a pretty upgraded Materai. Whenever you leave your Hildryn, leave it around a corner like this so enemies can't shoot them from a distance, if that makes any sense. When they round that corner, they will start becoming the energy pile that you need. Another tip is your second ability for the first mech is like Iron Skin. And if you don't know how Iron Skin works, Iron Skin basically is the first 3 seconds of you using the ability, you become invincible and instead absorb the damage. So if you see on the top right, my damage went up. It went up to 1700-ish. Here, let me turn it off and on again. You see how it goes up? And it will go up for the first 3 seconds, absorbing all damage, and then the rest becomes your armor, plus whatever 1500-ish is left in order to, you know, be the defense that you have. You don't care about that armor, by the way. The only thing you care about is the first 3 seconds. Your task is to push 2, push 4, hit the core. If you know 3 seconds are about to pass and your armor's gonna break, you push 4 again, push 2 to break it, or it probably broke already, push 2 again, push 4 again. And just keep doing that repetition. And this is why you check up on this. Now, there is no big need to care about the sentient control for like the first, you know, 50-ish%, because when you beat through it and break all the resonators, you will inevitably get the you will inevitably get the control handled, especially if you're quick on handling certain things. So you see here, my shield can't really be upped due to not having arcanes and whatnot. But all it takes is just a little bit of patience and killing of the nullifier, and you can still go through with it like nothing. Even without getting... Oh god, I went into a random mech. These things will be the run killers, by the way. Even without any buffs, your void melee should basically be sufficient. And if not, I'd highly advise using Unaru. Unaru is a solid focus. If no Orphix... Yeah, shush it. So if no Orphix exists in the, like if no Orphix, other Orphix exists when you break the final one, no matter what sentient control they have, it will always hit 0. So that's one thing to keep in mind, even if you see the number of the Orphix, the sentient control being like really high and whatnot, don't worry. It's not the end of the world. You will be able to, you know, handle the situation. And also the lockdown right there, by the way, is just so I can keep enemies locked down when I get out of cloak as the Tenno Kid. So there we go, we got the first 4 done, like clockwork. Now the earlier you get it to the maximum energy so that you can walk to the next area, the better, so that you don't have to risk the time ticking down, especially if, you know, you don't aim well, you know, are a bit distracted, etc. Also, when you dash through resonators, it will instantly break them. Not that you should be focusing on breaking them via a dash, or sliding, as the Necramech likes this, the Necramech mod itself calls it. but the sliding does instantly break it. So if you can, you know, smack into one as you're sliding into a mission, like if you're sliding into the tile with it, then by all means you should do it. Just be like, bang, break it. Helps not having to shoot it later. Now, I'm also curious, by the way, and this is going to be completely, you know, edited, because obviously nearly 90% of the people who clicked onto that video did not watch the whole middle bit. Like, and I'm talking about the middle maybe 30 Orphixes, which is understandable, mind you. I'm not gonna fault anyone for it. It's not your job to even look at that video anyways. You know, it's not required for you to look at said video. But when it comes to the video, so many people searched for it. It came up as a searched thing, and I'm curious as to why so many people searched it up. Like do just, like, you know, state what it is, right? If you're in the comments and you're up to this point of the video, do tell me, hey, you know, I searched it up because I was curious to see if it was possible, or I didn't even search for solo, it just popped up, and the YouTube algorithm of searching is quite inaccurate. Whatever the reasoning may be, tell me. Tell me the basically the reasoning, because I'm curious as to why it tells me that most people came to this video via a search. And also, as I'm stating, this is a very nerfed mech, but if you want to rank up your mech, the event is a good place. Don't be like a, you know, as some people would call a complete leech. You know, do your part, whatever that part is. But like, when it comes to this event, especially with a good team that's killing sentients and whatnot over and over, the affinity is quite nice, especially when we're, you know, dealing with the double affinity. And if you can get yourself a booster on top of this, you could max your Necramech in, like, I want to hit like in 4 or 5 Orphixes, depending on if they kill often. If you need your Necramech ranked up, by all means do it. But if you're struggling with either Forma or, you know, timing or just whatever, right? The number one thing you want to focus on is the Arcanes, your 4th ability for the main gun. For the main mech, you want to Forma the Arcanes to the build that I showed you, because the Orphix is weak against corrosive. And you can tell this if you know, aim at it with the synthesis scanner. And the reason I'm telling you that is because, as you can tell, I've nerfed the mech. The mech is completely nerfed. It is not, you know, it doesn't have every bell and whistle it could have. It is as bare bones as a normal new player with a mech could get. The Arcanes is the most important part about soloing the Orphix, because it's the only thing that can dish out the damage hard enough for it. And I want to believe that you can do it with the... I want to believe that you can do it with via the Bone Widow. But the more I play the Bone Widow, the more I call the Bone Widow a support frame. Like, it is a very, very support... why did I say frame? It is a very supporting mech. It doesn't really do its job like some people want to think. Like, people will look at it and be like, oh, it's the melee king and everything, but that mech doesn't dish out damage even close to what the Arcanes can do with the Voidrig, the main mech. So I don't know. It's interesting that they made a melee mech, but they didn't give it enough oomph. Like, you need to give this mech oomph in order to, like, not this mech, the Bone Widow. You need to give it oomph in order for it to be, well, worth. That is also why I bring the invincible pet of sorts, the immortal pet. Because if you bring any other pet, it's just going to die. You could also substitute that pet with a Jhin. By all means, it is an option to substitute the mech, or not the mech, to substitute the immortal pet from the Cambion Drift with a Jhin, with the mod that makes it basically immortal. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but you know, if you have a Jhin, you probably have the mod, and if you don't, talk to Cephal and Samaris. Also, while I didn't really get into detail with the Morga that I'm using right now, it's not really necessary because again I've built this build for the mech. You know, I've nerfed it down and also built the Arquebex and everything in the hopes that the people who are looking at this video aren't completely new, because you're gonna need a Hildryn, and either you cough up some plat for Hildryn, or you get Hildryn the legit normal way, which is to fight an Orb Mother. So if you're at the stage where you could fight that Orb Mother, you most likely have an art gun that equivalently deals damage to the Orphix resonators like mine. You could probably use the Grattler, the the Imperator Vandal, or just the Imperator. To be honest, the Imperator is not a bad art gun, as some people want to say. The Imperator is actually a solid gun to choose. So if you have an Imperator or a well-built Fluctus is pretty damn good, by the way, especially if you're playing a support Bone Widow in an Orphix Venom run, because the support Bone Widow can, and by the way, this is a just random tip, the third ability of the Bone Widow, when it pulls all the enemies together, if you read the ability, it increases the damage dealt to those enemies. That also affects the Orphix. So if you have a Bone Widow and you want to support your team, make sure you mark that Orphix when they're dishing out all that damage with the main Arquebex guns, or just their main arc guns in general. Make sure you are, you know, hitting them with the third ability so that you're upping their damage by a percentile. Like, it's not a small amount either. It is a very large amount. Also, if you want to abuse the damage multiplication that Matarite gives you, don't equip a flame amp. Genuinely, you're not supposed to even kill it with the main amp. You're supposed to melee it. Void Blast, I mean. But you could also just get around and kill them with the mech. It just will cost you a bit more energy to keep your armor up. Because just like Rhino in the normal game, you're not really tanky. You're just as tanky as your armor allows you to be. As proven with this mech. This mech isn't tanky. I have removed all the mods that would make it tanky, other than, you know, I have the armor mod. But it doesn't have health, it doesn't have more shields, it doesn't even have the repair mod, so there's no way I can heal it. All I can say is, your survivability with this mech is based off of the second ability alone. If you do not play with the second ability correctly, you do not live with the mech. It's that simple. The second ability is the most important one out of all of them for survival. And don't be afraid to go in and out of Tenno Kid when traveling around. Like, if you find it useful to do this, then by all means, do that. Otherwise, you know, don't limit yourself to mech, don't limit yourself to Tenno Kid. Do a mix of the two so that have a fresh mode of transportation that's safe. You can't armor up as the mech. You can't, you know, you can't move around. Go into Tenokid and let your mech, you know, rest. And you could do this way easier. Alright, way easier if you put the Arcanes on Hildryn, if you actually, you know, get a maxed mech with all the mods on it, etc. But this video, I guess I sound like a fucking record right now. This video just proves to show, shows to prove that you can do this, even if you're not, you know, built with Arcanes correctly, or you don't have, you know, your mech nice and up to date. You don't need it. You don't need the solid mech build. You just need essentials. And your Arquebex, it has all the mods that, if it has all the mods that I have, then you're solid. You're good to go. You gotta protect your frame. When you don't have Arcanes to get its shields back up, you gotta make sure that that frame shields get back up yourself. That is just a beautiful sight to see. No matter how many times I do this, no matter how many times I do this, and I don't solo this event often. If people ever see these videos, don't think like I'm a 100% solo player. I do genuinely just go into random groups and assist them as hard as I can do in solo. AKA, since I'm there, they will beat the event. 36 waves. But it's always such a nice sight to have energy orbs just on the ground, even if you can't pick them up. By the way, if you know about how rotations works, rotations go A B C C in terms of the map or the tile. So the tile right here that I'm looking at, that my mech is looking at on the map right now, that is tile A. You will do that once, then go to tile B, which is over here. You will do that once, and then you go to tile C, which is over there, and you'll do that twice. Then after you do that twice, you go back to tile B once, you do that, and then you go back to tile A and do that twice, and then repeat. Go to B, C, C, B, A, A. As you see here, I have to do another A. Just if you didn't know how the rotations work, I'll just leave that little tidbit of information. There's also one bit of cheesy information that I guess I could also teach. And it's not that, it's not like necessary. It's not like, oh man, that is a game changer, you need to know about it, sort of levels of information. But it is useful to know. When it comes to dealing with the Orphix after like number 34 or so, or actually I should just say after number like 20, it's literally a game of know how to push 2, know how to push 4. If you know how to push those 2 keys correctly, you're good to go. And then also take care of your energy creating Hildryn. And by the way, if anything is essential in this build, it is Hildryn. Like, you need the energy that the frame gives you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You need the energy orbs that Hildryn nets you. If you don't have those energy orbs, you're not going far. By the way, if you want to turn around in a full 360, just do a jump, turn around, and then do the dash again. I've done this multiple times throughout this specific run, but because this video is cut down, you probably won't even see one of it. Oh, I guess I didn't show one of the main things that I wanted to show. Oof. Here, I'll try to show you. Even though I can't really, well, I can't really show it now due to all 36 Orphix taken out. This is awkward. Yeah, this is super awkward. You know what? I'll just edit in the. I'm going to voice it right now, but like I'm in the clip that I'm going to be putting right here, right now. Bam, snap of the finger, bam. You see that? I am such an editing pro. So look at me. Look how cool I'm moving around, and yeah. And then now I'm going to aim my gun at this specific Orphix, and oh man, look at that. I can hit it from this epic vantage point that I totally can see into the future of. And as you can tell, the armor is stripped off because you can use Shattering Impact on the Orphix. Ta-da! Use that to your advantage if you have a way to shoot the Orphix with your melee weapon. Yeah. And back to this run. Wow, amazing editing. I just got meleeed into the extraction. Okay. Well, there you go. A complete solo of the event with a heavily nerfed Necramech and a no arcane Hildryn. This is just to drive the point home. You can do this if you want to assist your team greatly, if you want to do basically the best. You just need a good Hildryn, and you just need your Formud Arquavex. That is it. Yes, the 5 essential mods, technically only 4, you don't need the armor one. As you can tell, the armor one didn't help me that much. But if you can, put those 4 essential mods, and then that's it, you're good to go. But yeah, the focus school is not really too important. If you want the best focus school, technically it's Unaru for this, because it can cloak and damage protect the mechs, especially other teammate mechs. If you use Zenuric, you can pull enemies in, so if you're farming points with the Bone Widow, you can use the Tenokid's Zenuric pull to pull them all in even tighter, so that, you know, there's easier killing. If anything, the most important thing is having all the waybinds equipped, because then you can dash far. But Neramon, Unaru, basically top picks for me. If you're farming school, not farming school, if you're farming points from the event, Zenuric is pretty solid. But Unaru is the best support and useful, like, you know, focus out of all of them. In terms of this event, just because you can give yourself a Wisp to do more damage with the amp if you don't have the ability to Void Blast. If you pick up a Wisp, your Void Blast instant kills the Resonators. Your dashing removes armor. Unaru just brings a plethora of useful shit. Now I'm going to show you the builds. Not the builds that you've seen. So you saw that I was with Madarai and whatnot. Now I'm showing you what the efficient build is. You go Unaru. You can choose Neramon, because Neramon has higher dash radius, so you can affect a lot of enemies with the dash and basically stun them here and there and break containers and whatnot. But Unaru is my top pick. You want Magus Cloud. Lockdown is a solid combination with it, because it will lock down enemies around the Tenokid when you dash to one of the Resonators, just in case you need to not be invisible for longer than a second and you can't melee or Void Blast. Hildryn. And this is the build that I use with Hildryn. However, I didn't have Arcanes with this build. The obvious 2 Arcanes you want to bring is Barrier and Aegis. as these two in conjunction assist your shield in being unbreakable. And any assistance in getting your shield to maximum only allows you to CC them better with a Korra, the Korra Ensnare, by the way. I infused Ensnare into the first ability because Hildryn's first ability, especially in this build, is useless. I use enemy radar to see where the enemies are around corners, so I know whether I should chain them or not. But if you want, you can do what other people have done and equip this useless aura. Yes, I'm calling out everyone who talks about this aura in chat and everything. I'm telling you, it is useless. As you can tell, you don't need it. It is not necessary. And in fact, it would just hurt you more than it would help you, especially when you're soloing. So just bear that in mind. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying not needed and is useless. There's a fine line there. So I use enemy radar, Firewalker for the bullet jumping, so that I can traverse faster if I need to use the Warframe to traverse. You can obviously change this out for range, like this one. You could change this out for, I don't know, casting speed if you really want. With the speed drift, I just use Firewalker. It's not really necessary. But in my personal opinion, use speed drift. I use Firewalker for the bullet jumping and whatnot, especially in that video, in this run as well. But speed drift, generally better, especially if you're using Tenno Kid and if you're using the Voidrig mech often. The two guns here, completely worthless. In fact, I don't even think I procced any of the Syndicate stuff. But the Syndicate thing is called Sequence, so the Spectre requires this mod to do it, and the Lanka requires this mod to do it. And if you have teammates, this will be more useful because you just hold one of these two guns, and if they kill enough enemies near you, the affinity goes to your frame, and when Sequence triggers, it gives you 50% base shields, which is just a boon for Hildryn. It's just all about the shields. Those two Sequence things on these two guns, all about the shields. The Sarpa here, it is equipped this way just so that I can do as many attacks as I can with Shattering Impact. And I shall remember at the very end of this recording, because it's just going to be snipped to the perfect part of where I talked about it previously. Yes, Shattering Impact works on the Orphix. It removes the armor of the Orphix. Use that info as you want. There's not that many instances where you can shoot the Orphix with your melee. Oh man, that's going to be edited down greatly there. Anyways, moving on. You don't need to care about the Parazon or the Balefire Charger. I have my Undying Pet. If it matters to you, this is the build that it has. And then when it comes to the Voidrig, as you see here, it is literally just these 5 mods that I used in that run. But if you want an actual build, this is the build to bring to the Orphix Venom. Not for everywhere else. This is specifically Orphix Venom. If you're curious, this is the build I bring to everywhere else. If you go to the open world, yada yada, you use this build. If you're killing Orphix Venom, however, you want these 3 mods. Okay? That's the only difference between these two. Anyways, here is the Morga, but, you know, again, you could use many other weapons. In fact, this is not even a fully built one that's good because I don't even want quick reload on it. This is just a placeholder because I don't have enough room. Gonna need to add a forma to it, actually. I'll consider that later, but you saw what the build is. Here's the Arquebex, if I haven't shown it already. Yes, I use Prime Ruby-to-Line Barrel, and that does make quite the difference. So if you can get your hands on that, I highly advise it. It is a difference of 60,000 damage, basically. So, yeah. This is the anti-Orphix build. It is just designed to only deal with corrosive. However, if you're going to strip the armor fully, you would change this so that you'd go against the flesh instead. But that's just getting super technical, okay? And you don't need to get too technical with this event. Other than that, that is everything. There you go. That is me with no arcanes, with a very limited Necramech, and just a well-built... And the Tenno Kid didn't even assist either. Like, I brought the worst focus of the Tenno Kid. I brought no Arcanes with Hildryn. I brought only 5 mods onto the Necramech. And the only thing that truly mattered there, other than those 4 essential mods out of the 5, is the Arquebex. And you could solo it. And if I can solo this, you can definitely assist any team in doing this easier. And if 4 people are built the same way, you're going to melt through the event. In fact, I would argue that you shouldn't, all 4, if you are a team of 4, do this via all of you as the Voidrig Necramech. Yeah. This is a second video. I don't think I've ever really done this, other than like the Payday series of robbing the same bank. This is the second video I made of this event, and hopefully this video inspires others to either solo it if they are a solo player, which, by the way, if you're a solo player, power to you, because doing this is technically harder. Doing it solo is technically harder because one mech explosion and you are basically done for. You have to go flawless, where as a team of 3 other mechs with you, if 1 dies or 2 dies or 3 dies, you still have an easy chance. So power to you, solo players. But if you're not a solo player, this video is still here to show you, hey, that's how you do it. This is how you do it. This is how the Master Kev does it, and whether you take the tips or not, it's your choice. And I'm also going to edit this video down, and you're only going to see snippets of the run, because people don't like to see the whole run, apparently. And if you dislike the previous video because it was long, and it was just me doing the event, well, screw you, and have a good day, okay? So this is the end of the video. I guess I'll see you in another one. If I need to make another one, not for this event, but just in general. Bye.